My name's Louise West and I'm the curator here. This is Jane Austen's House Museum. The history of this house is quite long. We know that there was a building here as early as 1690 and probably much earlier than that, and it had lots of different manifestations, but it's most famous for being the house in which Jane Austen lived for the last 8 years of her life and where she did the majority of her writing. The first room that you go into is the drawing room, and that was the room they would sit in the evening and chat. Now the next room is called the vestibule, and that we think was where the original front door was. That's now where we've got the manuscript case and that sort of thing. The next room you come into is the dining parlour, and that's where she did her writing, but it's also where they would have eaten their main meal, and they ate their breakfast in there and so on. The next room we now call the reading room. In the Austens' time, they just call that the offices. And then up the stairs, there's Jane Austen's bedroom, and she shared that room with her sister Cassandra. The bed that we've got in there now, that type of bed, was ordered by Ring Brothers of Basingstoke. Well, there's a ledger existing today where you can see that Mr. Austen ordered two kits for beds for his two daughters. And then the next room we call the Austen family room because it's a nice display area to tell a story about the family, but that was Mrs. Austen's bedroom. Oh, and then there's the kitchen, of course, the kitchen. And the kitchen never had a door attached to the main house. There was also the bakehouse, which was also, you wouldn't want too near the house because it would, had fires in there. And there you'd have cooked pies and bread and so on. The garden is very different now from how it was then. It was much more functional then. They had a shrubbery, they had a veg patch. Mrs. Austen was keen on that. But they had a donkey here, so we often find donkey's shoes in the garden. Jane Austen was happy living here. I really get that impression. And she was clearly a writer who needed to be settled and reasonably happy in order to write. I think that's evidenced by the fact that she did a lot of writing when she was young. Then there seems to be a fallow period. She did some writing in Bath, but not an awful lot. But once she was here, it really took off. I think she drew on a lot of things that she'd seen when she got here. The most important thing about this house is that there was no longer any worries about money. It was comfortable, and they were contented, and that seems to have released all her creative energies. And you can say that there are aspects of life here that you feel would have inspired. I mean, Emma is about an English country village, not dissimilar to this one. If you visit Chawton House and think about Mansfield Park, there are parallels there, I think. I think living here gave her pause to reflect on what she saw around her and what she had seen around her. But it was just the stability of life here that just allowed everything to just open up and flow, really.